City of Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded October 15, 2021.
Item number 2 is the Commission's review of the fire chief's job description, announcement, placement, basically getting the process started for hiring the next fire chief for the City of Stevens Point. Commissioners, at this point, I want to go quickly review the job description. There's been a rewrite of the advertisement that was prepared in 2014, updating it. But I think before we do any of that, do you have any opening thoughts? Jerry, you're smiling at me as you always do. Bob, Joseph, before we get started, I thought I'd dive in and take a look at the job description first, but as we begin this process, any thoughts?
My only thought is the fact is we can move it along as quick as possible.
Okay. All right. Well, we have the benefit. Logan, did you have any opening thoughts, or I'm just going to dive in here if it's okay?
No, I think these things are all within the discretion of the commission, basically. So,
good, thank you, sir. Commissioners, you know that the City of Stevens Point job description for fire chief was revised and updated in June of this year. It is very current. I really don't have any changes, modifications, or anything to offer on that, but it's important that we realize this is going to become part of the application materials, and I want to make sure you had all seen the updated job description for fire chief. So any thoughts?
Gary, by that I take it you mean the last email we got, the one dated the 14th?
Bob, I don't have the date on the email. It's about 4 or 5 pages. It's the full job description.
Oh, okay, that one. All right, I got that one.
I'm just having printed out here in front of me. It's about what is it, 4.5 pages. It's the formal job description, Robert.
Yep, got it. I received so many things lately. I wanted to make sure I was looking at the right thing.
Yep. And again, it was just updated, so I think we're in great shape. Many times you start a search and screen and you realize that job description of the position you're attempting to fill is become rather antiquated. If you're all comfortable with the document as it exists, let's just move. Just looking here quickly, Joseph. You're the liaison.
I'm good with it.
All right. The ad placement. Let's take a quick look at that. That was material that Lisa Yakush sent. I believe all of this is now online with the exception of the Portage County Gazette. Nothing against any newspaper, but the world lives electronically now. We can post exclusively electronically with the municipality. That's the League of Municipalities. Jerry, you remember that from your city alderperson days. Well viewed by folks looking for municipal work. The International Association of Fire Chiefs, they have a website. I was just there the other day looking at material there. I would recommend we post there. And these are all electronic postings. The Wisconsin job site, or WisJobs, is another very valuable resource used by people looking for employment in government. It's the primary tool used by the state of Wisconsin and others that are posting government jobs. Mr. Cork, I'm sure, would be kind enough to put it up on the city website. Other ideas or thoughts for professional resources to post? These are the ones that, Leanne, did we use any other ones for our police chief search? I think these are basically we didn't use the International Association of Fire Chiefs, we used the police chiefs one. Are there any sites I've overlooked here?
Did you mention the International Association of Firefighters? Do they have something we can put it on?
Yes, Joseph, I mentioned that.
Okay, I missed that. I'm sorry.
Joe, turn your volume up.
Would it be appropriate for me to tell you to turn your hearing aid up? I'm kidding, Gary.
I don't wear hearing aids.
Gary, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I know. Joe, that it'd be appropriate for you to tell him to get a hearing aid.
Yeah. Right. Can you not hear me, Gary?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but I thought you were having trouble hearing me because the last site I mentioned was the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and then you asked me if I'd mentioned it.
Obviously, I'm the one that needs the hearing aid.
No problem. Leanne,
Well, I did notice one thing, Gary. You said fire chiefs, Joe said firefighters. Those are two different organizations, aren't they?
the International Association of Fire Chiefs has a great website where everybody posts for senior leadership positions. The site Joe is referring to is a great site for firefighter paramedics that are looking for entry level.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Leanne,
thought you each used a different word. That's why I was wondering.
Leanne, I just want to go back to the original question. Are there any online posting sites that we've overlooked here?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I have talked, commissioners, I have chatted with Lisa, and let me check my notes here. She can have these ads electronically posted by Wednesday of next week. So keep that in mind for our conversation. Are any questions on that, folks? Anything you'd like to recommend for adding? Anything we missed? I think these are the professional sites, but okay. All right. Take a look at I sent all of you a full rewrite on the fire chief's advertisement to be placed. I guess, let me start. Joseph, you want to start, or I have a few questions on some changes I'd like to recommend. So
Well, you did a really good job with the rewrite. I think it's good. There's a couple of things that I'd like to touch on. One question is I want to confirm with Leanne. I know, Leanne, you sent me an email a few days back when I asked you about this, but is it right to have 39 unionized and 6 management employees?
That's correct. I checked with Bob Finn on that number.
Got it. And then I wanted to have a discussion on the management experience and the 10 years that we have in there, and also a discussion on the salary as it relates to putting one number in there rather than having a range. So those are the things that I wanted to touch on.
well, why don't you run that, Joseph? What are you thinking on? Keep in mind that what I put in the rewrite here, as far as experienced commissioners, is consistent with the job description that was approved in June. That's language right out of the job description. You don't want to post a job and say you need this, but then we have a job description that requires qualifications differently. What are you thinking, Joe?
In the job description, is it 10 years? Do we have that they have to have 10 years of management experience?
Yes, let me read it. Yes, that is that language I took. If you go to page 2 under minimum qualifications, minimum of 10 years of fire service supervisory experience.
Okay. I think if we're going to find somebody that has 10 years of assistant chief or even captain, we may be limiting ourselves significantly for a good candidate. And I don't want to limit ourselves. I'd like to see that 10 years in the job description changed. I just feel that the commission will be able to vet the applications. And if there's someone that doesn't meet the commission's or doesn't think that they're qualified, the commission will make a decision on that. I just don't want to discourage anybody from applying because they may have 8 years of experience or 7 years of experience. Maybe they're in a bigger department and they were a captain for 8 years, but yet they haven't met our threshold of 10 years of management experience. So what I'm getting at is I'd like to see that reduced down. I don't want to limit the commission's applications.
Bob and Joe, I understand your point, Joe. Those are all good points. I must tell you, I'm not sure I totally agree with all that, but Jerry, Bob, what do you think? I mean, as I'm looking at minimum qualifications again in the job description, 10 years minimum, 10 years of fire service supervisory experience, comma, and a minimum of 5 years as a fire chief, assistant fire chief, or senior staff person. Joe, that language may cover what you're talking about, in my view. Jerry, go ahead, sir.
The problem, I think, is that in the ad that we're putting out, it says minimum of 10 years demonstrated management experience in a senior administrative position in a career or combination department. That's pretty narrow description. That one at least should be changed to either match the other one or to reduce the 10, because that's a more specific, more targeted description. And it seems to me that it's trying to weed people out, or it will end up inadvertently getting rid of applicants because they don't meet that threshold, and they could be more than qualified and a very good person to have at least apply, that we're telling, don't bother, we don't want to hear from you because you haven't been doing this for 10 years.
Okay, go ahead.
And another thought I have, real quick, Bob, another thought I have is on fire station number 2, that's my understanding that there is a lieutenant, the captain is in charge of both fire stations, and then there's a lieutenant that's in charge over at fire station 2, along with a MPO, along with 2 firefighter paramedics. So now someone that's a lieutenant, is that because they're the top person in charge in that building? Is that management experience? Is that supervisory experience? What is the commission going to deem? Where's the cutoff of supervisory experience?
That was exactly my question on the 10 years of supervisory experience. What level of authority is that?
Look, I hear what you're all saying, and if I think we could make an adjustment to 5 years of demonstrated management experience in a senior administrative position. I wouldn't want to go lower than that. Let's keep in mind we're talking the executive leadership for the fire and EMS service. This is not an entry-level fire chief job. This is a position, in my view, where you need to have a minimum of 5 to 10 years of leading. Now, to answer your question, Joseph, I think someone who is in charge of Station 2 would qualify as management experience. But that's a discussion the commission can have at a later point. But I don't want to set the threshold so low that we are literally vetting all sorts of folks with only 5 or 6 years of experience, as in maybe they've been a lieutenant now for 5 or 6 years. Again, I would stress this is not entry-level fire chief. This is the senior executive leadership for the fire and EMS service for the city of Stevens Point. I'm looking for someone who has done similar work and is ready to go when they get here. This is not a learn on the job experience. But I'm fundamentally agreeing with you that I think we can change the ad, make it a minimum of 5 years demonstrated.
I think we change the job description as well. Then it needs to be reflective.
I don't know that we need to change the job description. Minimum of 10 years fire service supervisory experience, minimum of 5 years as assistant chief, fire chief, or senior staff person. Joseph, it would be my position the city's job description covers what you're looking for.
Okay, well, and my other thought is why do we even have it? What's the difference? If they're in the job, they're in the job. I'm
not sure I understand the question.
Why does the job description have to have a minimum of 10 years of experience? Why the commission is the one that's going to determine whether the person is experienced or not. What the job description says is, to me, completely irrelevant as far as experience. That experience is vetted through the application process in the interview process. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just.
You have to have some.
I'm not looking for a big debate. I'm just pointing it out.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, but the commission has to have some basis for decisions moving forward. if we were basically wipe out the minimums and put different years in here, I mean, I think we have to, as a commission, say these are our minimum acceptable standards given the senior leadership that's involved here. And I frankly, I don't know anybody in the senior leadership position that's just started the job 5 years ago. I don't know anybody doing
And
that.
I'm not suggesting that, Gary. What I am saying is it's a minimum. It's the commission will vet someone that became a paramedic last year and has no experience that applies. If we didn't have a minimum, the commission is obviously going to go, yep, they're not qualified. That's my only point. I guess I'm not looking for a long debate on it. I just don't want to.
Joe, if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, Gary, part of the thing is that our last process for police chief, we didn't get nearly the applicants that we thought we were going to. And none of us, we all take guesses at what caused that. I'm not sure. But do we really want to put a 10-year minimum hurdle in the way and tell 5 good people that we don't want to even hear from them because of that statement alone? Instead of having 20 applicants, then we only have 15. I guess I don't see us vetting 1,000 people for this job. If we do, I'd be absolutely shocked, and I'll spend the whole night reading through their applications, okay? But I don't think it's going to happen. And I would like to hear from a larger body of people than 12 people to apply for this job. I don't know. All I'm saying is that there's been a lot of hurdles put in places for jobs that don't need to be there and have discouraged a lot of good people from applying for them.
No,
And I feel like this is one of those hurdles.
Yeah, I'm Commissioner. Jerry. I'm agree with you. I mean, I am okay. I mean, the change that I made when I did the rewrite here in Leanne. Do I still have that? Let me pull it up here for a second. Yeah, the one that we used in 2014 for fire chiefs had a minimum of 7 years. So in 14, the commission ad said 7 years. So I simply had increased it looking for more senior leadership. I understand what you're saying, folks, and I am perfectly fine rewriting and saying with the preferred minimum of 5 years. I'm absolutely okay with that. We all agree?
I wouldn't want to talk out of turn, but there's one thing I would like to just throw out there for you to chew on.
Tom, let me before you go any further. Anytime you want to add something here today, the same thing for you, Alderperson Kneebone. If you want to jump in and have a thought, just jump in. Chief, go ahead.
Sure. When we start using titles and names, and I know that was part of that job description, each department is unique in and of itself. When we start talking about assistant chiefs, I could look to Wausau and a captain and a lieutenant, where in Stevens Point would be considered a supervisory position. That could very well be well within the management realm. So right. The only thing I would just throwing out there, I'm not part of a decision making, but when we start throwing titles out there, that could stop somebody from applying because I'm not an assistant chief, even though in my department I'm a lieutenant and I'm in charge of the 5th precinct, so to speak. So I would stick to the years and not so much the title.
Oh, I agree. And that, Chief, that's what the ad says. Mary, again, at any time you want us to add anything here to the liaison, just go ahead and
The only thing that I was thinking is that if you said at least 5 years, but preferably more years of experience, could allow the widening of the candidate pool and still give the expectation that you may likely be competing against people with more years of experience. Maybe that's just semantics.
Yeah, that makes sense, Mary.
Commissioners, what do you think? And again, Logan, if you want to chime in, you just jump in. I think Alderperson Kneebone has an idea here.
Yep.
Mary, you want to repeat that again? I'll have Leanne. We'll make that change.
I think it was something like candidates should have at least 5 years of experience, and however you want to frame that, supervisory, but preferably preferred candidates will have more.
Yeah,
Or
we'll have a minimum of 5 years demonstrated management experience, and then comma.
preferably more, or
Right.
so that gives you your minimum and allows for some of those folks that could come in and say, hey, in my department, as Chief Center said, this is considered that level supervisory, and I've been there for 7 years. And somebody else could say, well, I'm this in my department, but it's lower. That's something y'all will have to figure out, but it sets a minimum, but it really says, okay, they're saying 5 years, but they really want somebody with more experience, but I might as well give it a shot anyway. So
I think setting the minimum is all we need to do, because the rest of it is a given. That's what a job application is about. We're setting minimums here. We don't need to start splitting hairs about it, because if you're going to go into a job description or apply for a job, I would hope you would have the ability to stand up and say, yeah, I've been doing this for 5 years, but I also have 7 years experience in management doing this. And I'm not sure the more management experience you have in running a fire station would be great for this job, because that's important. But if you came to me and said, I have leadership in another professional job, that's important also. A firehouse is more important. If you can combine that with 7 years leadership in some other position, that's not such a bad thing either.
All right. How you want to handle this, folks? I don't want to.
I'm in agreement with Jerry on that.
All right. So just stick with the preferred minimum of 5 years demonstrated and move from there.
Sure.
Well, it makes it understandable to anybody.
All right. Let's just change the minimum of 5 years demonstrated. And I still think we're consistent with the job description, which I think we need to have some consistency with here. The next item that I know Joe and I have had a little conversation is, in our previous postings, we've given a salary range, but then, and I may need somebody to help us walk through this. The salary range is 97,240 to 124 and some change. Is that correct, Leanne?
Correct.
All right. Well, no one's going to come in here and start at 124, because remember we got in when we had Brent Plush from UW-Madison Police, and we were trying to start him at like step, I don't remember what it was, 3 or something. And we had to go to the mayor and this special committee. And I mean, I would just as soon state the salary is 97,240 and leave it at that. Joseph, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with you, Gary. I like leaving it at 97,240. I think it makes sense. It eliminates confusion, and it makes sense, Gary.
Jerry, Bob?
For me, it makes sense to stay at 97, because otherwise, if you put the higher end also, you're opening the door for immediate negotiations right away. If the guy says he figures he can get another 10,000, on one of the finalists, he's going to buck around at that.
Okay, Jerry, you okay?
I want to hear what Leanne's question is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Job is going to be filled most likely in 2022. So do you want to put the 2022 salary?
Yes.
I think that's smart.
Yes.
Which Lisa gave me of 99,486.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's more money that way.
Right. What was the number? 99 what, Leah?
$99,486.
Okay, you're right, because this position won't start until 22. Thank you. Yeah. So we're all in agreement. So we're all in agreement, the salary, we're just gonna post it what it is. The other question, and I'll just keep rolling off my checklist and then jump in if you want here. We currently ask for resume, obviously, cover letter, resume references. Current salary. Do we really need current salary of this individual?
I don't think we do.
The HR people that I work with, they kind of raise that as a, why are you doing that? And I don't remember the argument for that. I mean, I think we've kind of always done it, but I don't, is there a case to be made for we need to know what you're currently making? I don't think so, but.
Yeah, I can think of a oddball case, but it's neither here nor there.
Is it even is it really even something that we should be asking under all the labor laws and everything?
The only argument, then we'll let the city attorney weigh in. The only case I could make for doing that is, remember during our police chief search, one of the initial applicants was currently earning like, I'm going to make up a number here, like 213,000 or something. And we kept wondering, well, why was somebody making over $200,000 applying to point? But Logan, is there any reason to legally I can't come up with an argument for it. I would just soon delete it, but I'll defer to see if there's any reason why you should be asking current salary. Logan, you got any ideas?
I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily any sort of legal impact there.
Right.
I mean, I guess, I mean, you can think of it as perhaps just something that's potentially useful information. I mean, if you get 15 applicants and you have an answer for that question from all of them, you get maybe a little better sense of what our market is. But you know, I can certainly understand omitting that. And moreover, if you have an applicant, you know, coming from a different police department, their current pay at their other department is a matter of public record. So we should be able to access that information with a little bit of emailing and legwork, or possibly just pulling budget items off their website. We can get that other ways without having to ask people.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good idea. Omitted colleagues?
That's fine.
Yep.
All right, Leanne, let's take out, we're going to ask them to apply with a cover letter to the Police and Fire Commission, resume, references. Let's strike current salary and email address, blah, 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 blah. In the
email address, don't we?
No, we're going to ask for their email address.
Okay, you said strike it, but okay.
Well, I misspoke. Thank you, Jerry. I'm just striking current salary.
Okay.
Obviously, we need the email address. I put a deadline to apply in this one for a couple of reasons that we can have a conversation on. I'm thinking the job search needs to go 4 to 6 weeks. I know Commissioner Kirschling would prefer a little shorter. I think I can live with 30 days, making the deadline sometime around Friday the 19th. Let's have a quick conversation on that. What are you folks thinking? I mean, Joe left. Okay.
I went and got a few things.
Okay. Jerry, go ahead.
All right. I guess thinking about the last job search that we did and the effects of some of the things that were going on politically, I would like to see this one done as soon as we can. And I think because it's budget time and those kinds of things, that's also going to have an effect on people. I would like to see this move right along.
So you're thinking 4 weeks?
Yep.
Okay.
I would kind of go along with that in the sense that the holidays coming, the budget time coming, and everything else. Plus, I thought that's maybe where we stumbled a little on the last time. maybe it went on too long.
Yeah.
Well,
And
let's remember why it went on. I mean,
yeah, I understand
Well,
that.
we do.
I mean,
Oh, we
Jerry
do.
Jerry just gently alluded to it, but I don't know that it had anything to do with deadlines imposed by the commission. We weren't getting the applicants, and then when we started to vet applicants,
Well,
we
that's
start-
one reason, Gary, to look at a 30-day, because if we're not getting applicants, we can always stretch it out further.
right. One of the reasons I put a deadline in this one, in the rewrite that you're seeing, is to accomplish exactly, Bob, what you're talking about and what Jerry's talking about. That folks realize this commission is serious. We're moving forward. We're moving aggressively toward finding a good candidate. And generally, a lot of places at the state or university tends to use language to the effect that applications will be accepted until a sufficient number apply. I'm trying to basically send a different message this time. Here is our deadline. If you're interested in applying, get going. Joseph, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with the 30 days. I went out on the International Association of Fire Chiefs for job openings, and anybody can go out and look at that. I wanted to make sure that I was in line with when I had mentioned before 30 days. There's a deputy fire marshal, and again, I'm not suggesting that we do all these, but I want to read them off. Deputy fire marshal in Greenville, North Carolina. The job opened on September 15th. It closed on September 21st. I'm not suggesting we do that, but that's there. Fire chief in California. They had 26-day job opening. A deputy fire chief in North Carolina, they had a month opening. An assistant fire chief in Washington State, they had roughly about 28 days. So I think that we're in line with doing 30 days. I think I agree with Bob and I agree with Jerry that I would like to see 30 days. And what you had said with November 19th, I would support that because that's roughly 30 days out by the time we get the job posted.
Well, and I think there's consensus. Again, anybody who wants to jump in, just don't wait for me to recognize you. I think after 4 weeks, the commission will know how serious are the candidates that we have. I mean, there's nothing that prevents us from extending to continuing if after 30 days we don't have a comfort level with the application pool. I'm not aware of any reason why we can't extend this or that we have to act. Logan, is there any legal reason if we set a deadline to apply of November 19th that we have to stop this process on the 19th if we're not satisfied with the quality of the applicants? I'm not aware of any, but let's check with the attorney.
No, that's just an administrative sort of convenience. It's not like you are, making an offer in a contract formation type setting. You can change the rules of the game midstream. It's more about just doing what you think is useful and fair to people.
Yeah, I think, thank you. I think, again, we're going to, between now and the 19th of November, we'll have a pretty good idea of the pool of candidates that we have. So if we're all comfortable, we would change it to November the 19th. No, excuse me. Yeah. The deadline would be November the 19th.
So it'd be posted on the 20th of October and closed on the 19th of November.
Yeah, we would post. Lisa tells me she can get all the posting done. Or do you do that, Leon? I'm Lisa. Who does that? Lisa? Okay.
Lisa does that.
Yeah, she tells me we can get them all posted by the 20th. Deadline to apply would be Friday, November the 19th. All right, the next question, and again, I don't want to get too far ahead of this because we don't know the applicant pool that we will have, but we could conceivably start vetting either Monday, the 22nd, which is Thanksgiving week, or Monday, the 29th, but both would be in advance of our December meeting. So any thoughts on that, Commissioner? Just moving, again, it's all going to depend on what does the pool look like that we have. Joe?
I support the Monday, the 22nd. That would give the commissioners the weekend to look at it. It's early enough in the week that I don't know this, but I would think that it wouldn't interfere with holiday plans. I would support the that following Monday that the commission meet, go through the applications, and then set up interviews soon thereafter.
Chair, you're okay with that?
I would agree with that.
I'm agreeing with that. Gives us 3 days, to decide and narrow it down, and then the following week you can start making appointments.
Well, and again, I wrote to all of you a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and we're not going to discuss it here today, but I want you to continue to think about what type of candidates are we looking for as we begin the vetting process. I mean, we're going to have some consensus on that when we start vetting on the 22nd. Now, Leanne, does the city use, everybody files electronically, obviously. Is there a way we can see those electronic applicants without you having to always forward them to us, or do they have to go through you? At the state or at the university, if you're on a certain screen, you can access the computer program to see who's in the system and whether or not you think they're qualified or not. Has the city gone to that level yet?
I don't believe so, but I can check with Lisa.
Okay. Because right now the system is, and I'm fine with the system the way it is. I mean, they're going to apply to Leanne, and she's done a really good job over the years that when we get applicants, just forwarding them on to us.
I can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Again, a system that I think is pretty effective is if you're on a search and screen to be able to access, because they're emailing you, Leanne, right?
Yes.
They're not going into a separate Dropbox or anything.
No, they're going into my email.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think you need to check with Lisa. I think the answer to that is once you start to receive them, and Leanne has done a good job over the years of taking a look at them, you can tell right away if they begin to meet the minimum qualifications. I mean, who will ever forget, we had applicants a few rounds ago for police chief, but the individual's experience was they drove a cement truck. I mean, obviously, remember that? Yeah, we obviously we don't have.
Why would you rule that out?
I don't know. Yeah. All right, Joseph, you had other questions. You said what did you have on the fire chief's ad?
No, you hit all of them
Okay.
that I can think of right now. I want to reserve the right to ask questions in the future, if I may.
Have you been watching courtroom dramas on television?
I've been painting.
You've been painting.
Attaboy.
Bob, Jerry.
I'm good for right now.
All right.
But like Joe, I'd like to reserve some rights too.
Where is all this coming from? Okay. Bob, would you like to reserve some time too?
I don't get to do that.
Bloodless coup d'etat here.
Yeah, well, I have run across language, like all of you, I did some research. I have run across some language I just wanted to quickly throw by you. Some job postings use language to the effect of the most qualified will be invited for an interview. I think that's kind of a statement of the obvious, but at least I wanted to run it by you. I think that falls into the Jerry Moore, Gary Westcott. Well, yeah, that's a given. We're going to interview the most qualified. So,
Yeah,
all right.
we don't need to put that in there.
No, I don't think so either.
Pretty
All right,
pretentious
so
statement.
I think we're set. I don't know. Is there anything else that we need to touch on here?
And as far as interviews and all that goes, we can decide at a later point, correct?
Right.
The method and procedure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it again. In 4 weeks, we're going to know.
What the interest level is.
Yeah, if we're going to know in 4 weeks if we have serious candidates or not. We're going to know.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and-
if we're- Go ahead, Jer.
Well, I was just going to say, you've got to know that once Chief made his announcement, that spread like wildfire throughout the state, and
Right.
so it's already known, at least statewide, I'm sure. So, we'll see. I'm sure there's people that are already talking about it, thinking about it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a good thing.
Leanne, what do you need from us to get this process started?
Well,
Anything else?
Nope, I'm just gonna go through the couple of changes that we made, and if it's okay, forward it to you. You okay it, then I can just give it to Lisa.
Would you forward it to all commissioners for
Yes.
review? I want to make sure, including Commissioner Morozek, who is not here today, but I want to make sure she's understands the timelines here too.
Absolutely.
I think we're there, folks. I don't have anything else in my notes. Joseph, Jerry, Bob, Mary?
I'm good.
Good.
My only question left was that part about 39 unionized 6 management. Is that exactly right, or do we need that in there, or what? I
Yes,
mean,
that's
it's good to give a description of the department, but is that the correct numbers?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know at the last meeting, Bob said we were a few people down. So this would be full employment numbers then.
Right, correct.
Thank you.
well, as a former alderperson I used to work with all the time used to say, anything else?
Jerry?
For the good of, anything else? No one, Jerry. Anything else for the good of the good of the order?
Okay,
Jerry knows who I'm talking about.
Mr. Rackham?
All right. With that, I'd accept a motion to adjourn, and we'll wish you all a good weekend.
Thank
I'll
you.
make a
Same
motion to
you.
adjourn.
All right.
Go
Seconded
back to
by
your painting.
Yeah.
all in favor of adjourning,
Second.
please say aye.
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 Bye.
Thank you.
So long,
Thank you.
folks.
Bye, everybody.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.